Well, hello, my fellow Omi homies. It's Foster, and I'm back at it again with another VeVe Indie Komi video. Today, we're doing something special. It's a first on the channel here. I'm actually going to be doing an interview with someone who many of you in the community may be familiar as the Todd Father. He's someone who has been in the community for a while now and is very active on various socials. And he's someone who brings a lot of background when it comes to not only the Omi token, but the amount of collectibles that he has as well. So I want to first and foremost thank you for coming on the stream. It's nice to see you face to face. We don't get a lot of that on our electronic cage nowadays, but welcome.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Not a problem, not a problem. So I know we were talking a little bit before we went live, but the Todd Father, I mean, obviously not your real name. Where does that come from?
My idea was to collect 100 Todds, but then I decided to go for more valuable items first, and then once the Omi token pumps, I'll cash out a bit and then boost my collection at a better stage. It's not the right time for that yet, but it will happen.
Oh, interesting. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I always liked the name. I thought it was unique. I thought about putting a graphic up or something with your face over the Godfather. I just thought Todd was maybe your name, but we know that that's not the case now. So the community will now know your name is Steven, correct?
It is.
Yes. So you've been invested in the project for a little while now, obviously. How did you come about hearing about the project and what got you involved?
Well, at the same time, everyone else heard about it when it was pumping to the all-time high. And yeah, I didn't get in at the best time, but I dollar cost average all the way down since March. So that was the only thing that saved me really for the future.
Nice. Okay, so you got in around all of that hype with the Andre Jick, Logan Paul, those types of announcements. The first drop when they got added on, I think to one of the exchanges, and that pump went up to I think 0.013 or something like that. That's when you first got in.
Yeah. So my holdings went up to $500,000 and pulled back to $80,000, and I only have myself to blame because we were promised an alt cycle, which never happened yet, but it's coming. It's definitely coming.
I will be the first one to agree that it's already coming, but wow, to see the bank account kind of go take a hit like that would be painful. And now I know that you've taken pride in the fact that you are truly all in on Omi. So for the folks that are watching here at home, how much Omi do you hold and how many collectibles do you have currently?
Well, I have 1,600 collectibles and 40 million tokens.
Wow.
So what happened was I started in 40 million, and as it crashed, I had to cash out because I didn't have a liquidity to get into the drops. So I pulled back to 20 million during the crash, and I dollar cost average back up to 40 million now. So I'm trying to balance everything while trying to get involved with other fun stuff until we get our time. So it was only recently in the last month I started experimenting with OpenSea, trying to get used to it because it's a big learning curve as well. There's lots of scams. You need to be ready for when Omi goes crazy and not trying to rush and learn everything at the wrong time. You need patience.
For sure. And I think you hit the nail on the head with that one as well. I think, a lot of people that get into crypto expect those kind of overnight moonshot gains. And like you kind of alluded to as well, when you first got in, you were promised this situation, you saw all this hype surrounding it, and you naturally assumed, just was with many other crypto projects, that it was kind of going to moon and you were going to ride it to the top. And I think as more and more people enter the community and we see more and more content creators putting out the information and education to the community, we're seeing that that's not necessarily the case here, but in a lot of ways that's actually a good thing, because now we're understanding that the Omi token and the company are planning to use a lot of utility and things towards encouraging the growth of the token in a more organic way rather than just kind of hype and belief.
Yeah, that's the big problem. It was all on a hype train. All the building blocks were there, but it needed that organic growth just to be sustainable. So the hype put a lot of people off because they lost faith in the project, expecting too much early on, and it needs that time to build step by step.
For sure. So now you alluded, obviously, when I asked you about your name, the Todd Father, you had indicated you were looking to get 100 Todds, and then you've recently changed the way that you've gone about your collecting strategy. Now you have 1,600 collectibles currently on the app. Do you know how many sets you have completed out of those 1,600, or are you I
have 31 sets. I haven't chased the expensive ones, the Moo, please. I could get the Hardy Pews as well, but at this stage, I think the token's better value and better returns. And then I'll get the others later on once I get that value first.
Definitely. No, I think that makes sense. And I think that, when you're looking to buy things, especially, it's one thing to get something on the drop, but then when you go to buy something on the secondary marketplace, if you're already paying, thousands of dollars for an item, it's what is the cost or the value proposition of buying something for $5,000, hoping that it'll go up. I mean, maybe it'll 2x in the next year or so versus the token, like you said, which, I mean, could 10, 20, 30x in the next 6 months. So
my low estimate is 15 times from this position now to end of year.
Wow.
But that's like a low estimate as well. Obviously you could do more.
That's fair. So when you say 15, so what is do you have a price prediction that you think that the token may hit? And obviously I think there's a lot of factors that are associated with it. Actually, you know what? Let's save that because I think that's a good question to get into. I want to circle back here for a second. You were mentioning you recently dipped your toes into OpenSea to try and get familiar with it and focus on some other projects. Now, I know obviously by your Twitter profile picture and just some comments that you put out, you've invested in Lazy Lions as well as Veracity. Yeah. What are those projects like? Tell me a little bit about them.
Well, I believe Veracity is going to be the next Feta. It's going to do 100 times. So I'm trying to juggle everything. The one thing is you can't time the market, which is what I'm trying to do. So it's a bit risky, but it's more rewarding if you can pull it off.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely. And like you said, there's no way to time the market. So I think that's why, when you're dollar cost averaging down and trying to get into a position, it's, take little amounts and put it in over time. Obviously not financial advice, but probably a good idea rather than YOLOing all of it in at one time, because as we can see, with a lot of people that tried to jump in on board close to the all-time highs, well, now you have no way to dollar cost down because you have all of your money in and you're down, and, it can be discouraging for sure. So tell me a little bit more about Lazy Lions. I understand they're a project. I think they had 10,000.
The issue is it doesn't have bear market survivability. With VeVe, you're going to hold your value, and you don't have to worry about it crashing to zero. Lazy Lions is a complete gamble. It's fun, but it's not a long-term investment.
That's fair. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of projects on OpenSea recently, a lot of knockoffs or spin-offs of popular projects that people are hoping will gain hype and social sentiment. And you're right. Where are those projects going to be in 6 months? It's difficult to say. So
yeah, VeVe's security, it's not the best gains immediately, but it'll be there in 10 years' time. 98% of these other projects will not be. So it's just a short-term thing to keep me entertained and hopefully make money along the way.
For sure. No, and I think we're all here to try and make money. And like you said, I think a lot of the other projects are gambles, and then, VeVe, it may take longer, but you're actually investing in something rather than, the hope or a promise that something may eventually come. So I guess speaking of those investments that you are investing in, obviously you're also heavily, you have your 1,600 collectibles, but you're obviously heavily invested in the token as well with 40 million tokens. What are some catalysts that you're looking forward to that you think will drive the price action as we come through the end of the year and into next year?
Mutable X is the biggest one. We need that to stay with the bull cycle, really, because right now we're not really pegged to anything. We're just our own little ecosystem. But if we have a new NFT purists coming in, bringing more funds and the high value they bring as well, that'll boost us up a lot.
For sure. I agree. So I think Immutable is something that we're hoping to see possibly by the end of September. Obviously not confirmed at this point, but the team has indicated in previous AMAs that we're, over 90% of the way through on their end, and they're just in the testing now. So hopefully we will start to see that. And I think that's why we're starting to see a little bit of positive price action for the first time in a while. And at the very least, when people are selling, we're not continuing that trend downwards, and we're holding a fairly strong support right now. How do you feel about other aspects such as the money transmitter license and the master collector program? As someone who has 1,600 collectibles, I'm assuming the master collector might be something you're interested in.
It's everything, because right now people have no incentive to hold. So you got 200 left in the market, it dips down, and then people sell for the next thing. Whereas if you give someone a reason to hold something, there's going to be more scarcity, more rarity, and more value. It's everything, really.
For sure. Now, if you had the opportunity to burn tokens as a hypothetical to get into a drop early, or stake tokens to earn specific levels, is that something that you would be interested in? And is it something that you think is good for the long term mass market survivability of the project?
I wouldn't burn my tokens because that's my money and my investment, but I would definitely stake it 100% because right now it's sitting there not doing anything, and it'll be sitting there for the next 10 years.
For sure. And now you referenced 10 years. Do you have a specific time horizon or frame that you, in the back of your mind, believe will be invested into this project? And then on top of that,
I'll be invested for the rest of my life. There's no ways I'd be completely cutting ties.
that's fair. So do you have I guess I'll call it an exit strategy. Do you have an idea of how you want to phase out selling some of your tokens over time? And do you have a price in your mind that you believe the Omi token will hit, whether it be, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, that would be an acceptable level for you to say, yes, we've made it?
I was actually thinking about that earlier. There's never an exit strategy for me. It's always take money when I need it. There's no point just pulling money out and have it sit in my bank account. I want to buy a house this year or next year. So whenever's the right time, I'll take the money for a mortgage, but I won't take a huge chunk out because that's what I need for future.
For sure. It's a tough question.
It's just, let's get going. Let's get the ball rolling first and then figure it out later on.
No, that makes sense. And I mean, obviously you've invested quite a substantial amount of capital into the project. So, I mean, it's good to see that you're not rushing to kind of take money out of it. You're aware of kind of the long-term value proposition of the token, and you're fine with you want to see things start to get rolling, but you're not in a rush to kind of pull out and move on to the next thing either. So
definitely not. I did want to, don't put all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. So veracity was my other sidestep, but Ecomi will be my number one by far.
That's good. Yeah, I know the conventional wisdom is don't put all your eggs in one basket, and I wish that I could say on my end that it's advice that I followed, but after jumping into Safe Moon, Bonfire, and all these other tokens, just based.
Yeah, all those are good, but you need to know they're not long-term things.
Yeah.
It's the same with Lazy Lions and all the NFTs. Take money while you can and invest into real projects.
For sure. Now, obviously, we understand the long-term vision of the project, but are there any concerns that you have right now about things that the project is doing currently, or ideas or feelings that you have that they are moving towards that concern you at all? And if so, what would those reasons be, and what would you like to see be done different in order to improve them?
I wish they moved to Immutable X sooner. They should have realized that GoChain was going to hold them back, but it is what it is. They're doing their best, and we just got to be patient because it's coming. But that's my only disgruntle, because I wish it happened sooner. But
yeah, no,
and it's a complex thing to do. People don't realize how technically challenging these things are, because I got 4 years in computer science. I know it's not easy, but they're making it happen, so it's all good.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, because the project's been around for as long as it has, I mean, they've been at this since 2017. I think we're starting to see some things now that in an ideal world we'd like to see as quickly as possible. And just now for some of these things, the technology is really starting to catch up to where we would like to see it be. So like, I think as an example, GoChain might have been a good option for them in 2017, but now that we have layer 2 solutions on Ethereum where you're not having to pay, $50 or $100 to mint a $10 NFT, these options are now available to us. And I think exactly. It really,
that's a very fair point, because GoChain does do a really good job. It's just obsolete now and outdated, but it was top of the line back in the day. So they did the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you're someone that's used OpenSea Like you said, for the last month or so, you've been minting your Lazy Lions. It's we'll call it a passion project for you. It's just fun to kind of do until you move on to the next thing. What are your feelings on things like, gas fees for minting and the
It's
fact that
horrible. It's absolutely disgusting. The only reason why it's so profitable right now is because it's a gold rush. Everybody's expecting to make money, so they're willing to pay this crazy, crazy fee. Like last night, I had to cancel a listing. It cost me $200 just to change the price. It makes no sense.
$200 to change the price?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Yeah, because once you list your price, it's a contract, and to cancel it, you have to go along the Ethereum chain. And because I changed my price, you can go lower, but once it cancel completely, you have to cancel. So there's like 3 or 4 transactions on the Ethereum chain to cancel a listing on OpenSea.
And then when you want to relist it, I'm guessing that they charge you again for that list? Or is it free to list at least?
It's free to list, but to cancel it's expensive.
Oh my goodness.
All these little things you don't know until you start getting involved.
That's crazy. Yeah, I saw someone post on Twitter the other day. They were trying to transfer their Ethereum from one
wallet to
and it cost them like $200 or something. And I was like, that's I think for me that's the thing that's really turned me off of all of these projects that sound like in theory they could make you some money fairly quickly. Is I can't be bothered to set up my MetaMask properly, eat all of those transaction fees in the hopes of being able to acquire something, and then what's it worth when I go to sell it? Is it a bubble? And it's crazy.
The issue is you get blindsided by all the influencers. Say, look at me, I sold my punk for 100F, and everyone thinks, oh, I could do the same thing. And you get invested in all these little crappy projects which never make it anywhere. And they all say the same roadmaps: interactive games, charity, devs are active on Telegram, whatever. Just they try to lure you in, and then it's expensive as well. So, well, $1,000 to mint 5 little crap NFTs. It's not cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own opinions on JPEGs, but I think for my audience, I might leave those out in their entirety because I might get some backlash on that. But no, I agree with you. It's I think we can all agree, or at least we can all see why intellectual property is going to be such a important factor to any projects, whether it be VeVe or anyone else, their success. Speaking of IP, are there any brands or licenses that have already been announced that haven't come out yet, or that you're hoping will be announced that you're excited about just as a collector?
When Pokemon.
When Pokemon. Yeah, that's one of them. That's
bring about 1 billion users. It's going to change the game, but they need everything in place. It has to be 100%. You can't bring 1 billion users in this form. And they need more exchanges, more liquidity. So they need all those steps before they release the floodgates.
Before they release the floodgates. Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. And I think I do my best, anytime that I'm on Twitter and I see comments to, why is this taking so long, or why are they doing this? People will call me a VeVe maximalist, and I do very much support and enjoy the project, but I also have no problem pointing out fault when fault is due. But, when I see the steps that they're taking to roll out different items, to me, I look at the macro and understand that blind boxes need to come out so that we can have blind boxes for other brands. We need comics as another form of collectibles so that when they, possibly release music licenses or videos as licenses, that they have different categories in the shop. They can show to a licensor that they can sell 60,000 collectibles and the app isn't going to crash or not work for users. Like, these are all steps that, when you just look at them independently, someone might say, well, I'm not happy with this drop, or, why are they doing multiple of these? But there's a method to their madness. I mean, you don't have someone like Alfred Kahn on your team if they don't understand the big picture. Like, they were doing this back in 2017 when no one even knew what an NFT was. And there's a reason for that, in my opinion, anyways.
He's a guru of the space. No one else has the credentials he has. If anyone can make this project happen, it's Alfred Khan. He could easily be retired right now. This is reliving his childhood and his glory days, because he could be on a yacht sipping margaritas for the rest of his life if he wanted to, but he's still slaving away. This is his passion, his life. So,
for sure. And
if he's still here, I'm still here.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. I remember when we were, the community was, thought Alfred Khan wasn't a part of the team, or there was rumors even going around that he had passed away. And then that interview came out, and I think that really, really reinvigorated people. And he was just dropping straight bombs on people. And, it was crazy. It blew my mind.
Pre-recorded.
Yeah, pre-recorded. Hashtag pre-recorded. Here we go.
Tinfoil hats out now.
I think one other thing that's important to remember too is it came out the other day that they had the Marvel license for 18 months before they even announced and released it. And I think things like that people forget, right, is that the time wasn't right. And what people need to understand is, and this is by no way a confirmation or anything like that, but I mean, they could have received the Pokemon license a year ago for all we know. And all that they're doing right now is putting the steps in place to show that when the user base gets to the level it needs to be at, that Pokemon has their trust in releasing that information.
They had it from day one, without a doubt. There's no ways David Yu and Alpha Khan, the two of them together, do not have Pokemon. Like, come on, let's be real. It's in his early presentations as well. You don't go around showing it on every other slide in 2018 if you don't have it, because you just be so unprofessional.
For sure. And I think a lot of I think they've said multiple times they didn't expect the community to go as in depth and on things. Like when people were finding, I think Cavell Anderson released the video a couple months ago, and it might have been one or two other YouTubers, when they had found, a possible confirmation of Marvel because someone checked the trademark licenses and everything. Like, it's a community full of passionate people that love this project. And I think it's going to continue to just grow even further. It's crazy.
I think people's biggest concern is missing the bull market and missing the cycle. They definitely believe in the project. They're just hoping these things happen quick enough to stay up to date with the price action. Because when things do 3 or 4 times in a month and the economy stagnates, it's really hard to be patient. You believe in it, but you see everything going. That's the only thing I see being an issue.
For sure. What are your opinions on, because I've personally said it, and I know a couple other people have, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the concept of the OMI token being not entirely, but almost bear market proof if the utility is added before we enter the bear market. What are your thoughts on that?
It's currency in the ecosystem. I believe it would be bear market proof. It'll obviously dip. Everything pulls back with Bitcoin. No matter what you're saying, nothing is impervious to a bear market cycle, but the impact will be less. How much less, I'm not too sure, but it'll definitely have a purpose.
For sure. Do you have any plans? You started with 40 million OMI tokens. You sold some to get liquidity to buy the collectibles, and then you dollar cost averaged yourself back up to 40 million. What is it about 40 million that appeals to you as a number? Are you planning on purchasing any more?
I'm trying to get more, man. I'm out of money.
I think we basically all are at this point. So what is your obviously you have 1,600 collectibles now. So what is your collecting strategy right now? Like, when you go to buy a drop, are you buying, let's say, 5 of them with the hope of flipping 3 to recoup your costs? Are you holding on to all of them? Like, what is your thoughts on that?
I haven't sold a single NFT since I started, because I don't think it's worth selling right now, because for me anyway, because I don't need that liquidity to get the next one, because I'm earning enough to pay for it. But I understand people who do, because it takes time to flip it and move up and progress. But I don't have that time to be messing around with the app too long right now.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, the work-life balance can be difficult, especially if you add, family and other requirements into it. I think I'm going to get in some trouble when the VeVe-verse comes out and I'm spending all day, every day hanging out there with everyone in the community. I'm sure the wife and the kid are going to have something to say about that, I would imagine. But it's absolutely crazy what we've gotten ourselves into here.
It's our next generation of games. And as kids are gonna live this life now, and they're not gonna know any different. Everything's gonna be online one day. They won't have physical toys. It'll be a novelty.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Well, I know you're busy, and I know you got a lot of things going on, and I'm sure you want to get back to the market and try and scoop up some more of those comics that were just released. So before I let you go,
I just tokens for now.
Okay.
It's too cheap to not buy them, to be honest, right now.
Exactly. No, I think I'm holding, 7 common of the Marvel Comics #1, and I think it was funny. I think the amount of collectibles that I had almost doubled when they did the update the other day, and it switched from only showing your collectibles to including your comics in the count. I think I went up by like 60. So
it's good that they did that though, because it gives people more incentive to buy more.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves seeing a higher number, and if it didn't add to the sets and to the collectible numbers, there's no point having it from a lot of people, apart from the serious collectors going to buy it anyway. But it's more of a psychological thing to see progress.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And I'm glad that they're constantly taking feedback from the community and doing their best to kind of add it into the app and really make everyone's opinion feel valued. I know that there'll always be some people that'll come out and won't be happy about changes and things that they're making, but
can't please everyone. It's a really hard thing to do.
For sure. Is there any final thoughts that you have, anything that you'd like to share with the community, or anything that you'd like to say to anyone about the project, or your thoughts on the collecting and the token?
Yeah, they're doing a really good job for this team they have. People don't understand it takes 1,000 employees to bring out a game. They got 30, maybe 40. It's a lot on that plate, and they're doing a good job.
I concur.
There's not much more to say, but we just need more patience and hope they pull through in time.
I concur with that observation, and like you said, the biggest thing will be whether they can get that utility ruled out by the the end of this bull cycle, and kind of ride that momentum into the months and years to come with this project. So it sounds like you're very similar to me. You're going to be holding for quite a while, regardless of the outcome, and we just have to hope that they continue to go down the path of making this one of the most successful projects that we've ever seen in the digital collecting and technology space.
It will be one day. It just needs time.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on with me today. I know the community is really going to appreciate your insights and thoughts on these issues. And to anyone that's watching right now, thank you very much for tuning in, as always. If you guys have any questions for Stephen or myself, throw them down in the comments. We'll do our best to get back to as many people as we can. And moving forward, if this type of content interests you and this is the type of things that you like to see, let me know. I'm always interested in hearing from the community, people in the community, in regards to their thoughts, their collecting habits and strategies, and just putting the information out for as many people to see and get everyone's feedback, and continue to try and make this project as best as it can be. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Take care.